Changes in Germany and Brazil lead off today's edition of CNN 10. We're happy to have you with us. I'm Carl Azuz, and we're starting in Europe. German Chancellor Angela Merkel announced on Monday that she would not try to get re-elected when her term expires in the year 2021. She's not only the leader of Germany, she's served as a powerful leader in European politics for the past 13 years. So her announcement could signal a significant change for the continent in the years ahead. Chancellor Merkel's political party, the Christian Democratic Union, and some of its allies did not do well in recent regional elections. And the chancellor also said Monday that she'd step down from her role as chairman of that party. Analysts say her plans indicate that her political power has decreased. One issue she's been criticized for was how she handled the refugee and migrant crisis that Europe faced in 2015. Many Germans disagreed with their government's decision to allow more than 1 million migrants into the country that year. Jumping over to South America, where a conservative congressman has been elected the president of Brazil. Jair Bolsonaro had a decisive victory over liberal candidate and former Sao Paulo mayor Fernando Haddad. Their campaigns for the presidency had been polarizing and at times violent. President-elect Bolsonaro was even stabbed at one point during a campaign rally, and while that kept him off the campaign trail for weeks, it also strengthened his support among many Brazilians. Their country has struggled with corruption, rising crime rates, and a prolonged recession, and Bolsonaro promised he'd defend freedom and protect citizens who respect their nation's laws. One thing that concerned his opponents were his promises to allow development in some parts of the Amazon rainforest. Some environmental groups called his election a profound setback. 10-second trivia. Goldman, HSBC, and Barclays are all examples of what? European football clubs, insurance agencies, investment firms, or railroad companies? These are all examples of investment firms that keep close tabs on markets worldwide. As October comes to a close, investment banks and investors are reflecting on what some are calling the October market scare. At some point over the past month, the Dow Jones Industrial Average of 30 significant stocks had dropped by more than 7%. The S&P 500 index of large companies dropped as much as 9%. The NASDAQ index of tech stocks is down about 10%. The stock market's one indicator of how the U.S. economy is doing. And overall, analysts say it's roaring, doing incredibly well, and that a recession, a sustained decrease in the U.S. gross domestic product, is not likely anytime soon. But looking ahead, one thing investors are concerned about is an economic slowdown. They think that could happen next year, and that's one reason why the market was volatile in October.
Up 300 points, down 600 points. How are you supposed to know when a big move in the stock market matters? It's all about perspective. Stocks have been in a bull market for 9 long years. The Standard & Poor's 500 more than tripling in value. The Dow is the 30-stock average that regular investors have watched rise from 7,000 to 25,000 since 2009. That means obviously a 600-point decline in the Dow today is not as scary as a 600-point decline a few years ago. It's why the percentage change matters more. I don't get too excited about moves less than, say, 2%. Anything 5%? Now that's a headline. More than 5%? That's when you can pull out those superlatives like plummet and tank or skyrocket and soar. Now, this recent volatility, as it's called, when the market moves sharply in either direction, it begs a big question. Why? Well, a major adjustment is underway in the stock market environment. Investors are coming to grips with something being called peak earnings, that the golden days of a booming economy, rich tax cuts for companies, and low interest rates is right now, and that will begin to fade next year. As big companies report their big profits, they're beginning to note higher costs from trade disputes and higher wages. Good for employees, bad for profits. And sometimes big swings can be more emotional than financial. Take a series of bomb scares, adding to the angst, a country tearing apart at the seams over political and culture wars. But that was an emotional selling point and likely temporary. But also critical in stock market reporting, again, is perspective. Just since the election, stocks are up 25% and more.
More than 800 plays have been produced at London's National Theatre since it opened with Shakespeare's Hamlet in October of 1963. Now, it's taking a big step to utilize technology to better serve theatergoers with hearing loss. An estimated 1 in 6 people throughout the United Kingdom has some form of hearing loss. The smart glasses it's using initially cost the theater more than $700 a pair. The developer gave dozens of additional sets for free. For how they work and what kind of impact they're having, here's Samuel Burke.
Here we are at one of the UK's crown jewels, the National Theatre. But if you're hearing impaired, all of that may mean nothing to you. But you guys are trying to change that.
Over the last 2 years, we've been developing a new system which is called Smart Caption Glasses.
I just want to put them on because I've tried virtual reality, augmented, mixed reality headsets, and they're usually pretty heavy. These, though, are fairly light. I suppose the only difficulty I might feel is the fact that you've got the foreground and the background, and they're quite far from each other, so I kind of have to look down and look up at the subtitles.
If you tap the keypad, you can change the way it's displayed. You can alter the size, you can alter the positioning on the screen. And a lot of people love to have it huge, in pink, over the face of the performers so that they can lip read at the same time as reading the captions.
This is essentially augmented reality. You're putting something digital or virtual on top of what you're actually seeing, somewhat similar to Pokemon Go. Will these be available for all the performances moving forward?
It will be on every single night.
Just how accurate is this technology that's following the text?
We program in the script as it was performed on the press night.
And worse, you called me pretentious.
And the accuracy based on that is between 93 and 96%. If a performer jumps a few lines, the system will react. It'll take a second or two, but the system will react and it will recognize where it is.
There's that iconic picture of people in a movie theater with 3D glasses, that black and white photo we've all seen. So do you envision a future where you'll see lots of people with this technology, whether they're hearing impaired or just wanting to hear or read something in a second language?
I think that's the next phase of what we're doing. We're really keen on introducing as many foreign languages as we can to bring audiences into the theatre so they can have the same experience as everyone else. There's been overwhelming positive response, really, for deaf theatre goers who would love to be able to come into the theatre anytime they wanted.
I'm used to going to the theatre with caption unit. But with the glasses, it's much more enjoyable because I can follow the movement of the actors on the stage, and I feel it's more inclusive.
I thought that the freedom to be able to read the caption and hear the actors' faces was a big improvement. I've never felt I was able to do that until I wore the glasses.
It's really fundamental that an organisation like the National Theatre, in its really privileged position, does this kind of work for the sector.
James Anthony, an elementary school custodian in Tennessee, recently turned 60 years old. He's deaf, so a group of teachers and kindergarten students put their heads, hands, and hearts together to wish him a happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
When he saw them signing the words to the song, his reaction was priceless. The school principal says Mr. James sometimes teaches the kids sign language, so here they were able to show him what else they'd learned. I guess you could say their effort took the cake. When they presented the present in his presence, it was almost more than he could handle, truly the icing on a happy day. I'm Carl Azuz, and that's CNN 10.